Backstage with Mothership on Solid Rock Radio begins now. Hear the best in new music, artist interviews, stories from the road, and more. You are now backstage, and here's your host, Mothership.
Hey everybody, I have Chris and Angie on the show to tell you what you need to know about Kingdom Come Festival. All the songs tonight are by the artists that will be there, so let's just jump right into this call. Always One Ministries reaches out in their community through Christian events. One of those is Kingdom Come Festival. You two introduce yourselves.
Well, I'm Chris. Me and Jay co-founded the event in 2010. It started off just as we had a band and we were just trying to get some playing options. And so we thought of this idea to turn one of our self-promoting gigs into a festival, and voila. But so I'm co-founder and kind of the pops of the grounds, I guess, for the festival.
The patriarch is what we call him.
The patriarch.
Chris was the patriarch of the bunch. I'm Angie. I'm the event coordinator for Always One Ministries. Chris is my uncle. Jay is my brother. It's a very much a family-oriented ministry just because of, how it started with literal family. And then, the family grows when you meet more people and stuff. They had the festival in 2010. I loved what it was about. Jay would tell you, if you could get him to talk, he would tell you things about, what Chris and Jay were doing at the time. And Jay worked in the high school, so he was hearing all these stories about what these kids were doing, taking off their clothes for money on Skype, or I'm not going to study for my Spanish final because I'm just going to sell drugs when I graduate anyway. And so this was a way that Jay and Chris could do something about it, So then in 2011 is when I jumped on and started to help. And then my husband, Dave, jumped on as a technical director. And so we call ourselves the core. We don't have a board. It's just the core of us. And we see eye to eye on pretty much all of it. Like, we're really trying to just follow the initial vision that was given and then kind of tweak things to get it there every year.
Have you always had it in the same location?
No, it was downtown Kokomo, which was a great location because you got a lot of foot traffic going through the downtown area. It was in a great big park at a really, really nice facility, really, really huge stage. Yeah. It was great, but we ended up getting a lot of restrictions put on us, by the city. I mean, and probably, for good reason, not restrictions on us, but just restrictions in general on events. And it just wouldn't work with us. And so we were kind of left hanging one year, and Ange could probably go better into that, but the vets ended up rescuing us.
Yeah, they did. We had it in downtown Kokomo for 5 years, and it was in the park, and it was so pretty, and the stage was just amazing. I mean, every band loved playing on that stage. It was huge and beautiful, and we were like just a block away from the rescue mission. And so the first couple years we were there, Trevor Hyde has been with us always. And then there were a few other bands before the protest ended up jumping on with us. They started making a relationship with these people with the rescue mission. So the people with the rescue mission would come every year and talk to him. And the first time Trevor Hyde ever actually stood out to me was we couldn't find him, and he was off to the back of the park under a tree praying with one of the homeless people. And I mean, that's it. That captures it all. Yeah. If I'm being honest, I'm gonna try to be nice about this, but I think that the enemy kicked us out of downtown Kokomo. Truly what I believe, because this was the 5th year, and we had the same person that we've connected with in the city. After every event, I would call and say, hey, did you get any complaints? What can we do? What do we need to do? And every year he'd kind of say something about how loud we were. And then one year, it was the year of the Holy Spirit tsunami, Chris. I'll tell you about that in a second. So I went to the fella and I said, so how did it go? And he says, I just don't understand why you guys get the most complaints out of the whole summer concert series that we have. I knew that we were using the same exact production company that the city used. They're not cranking us up. And it was Jake Drown's company, actually, and who does our production now. And I said, are you a Christian? And he said, yes. And I said, then why do you not know why the Christian festival's getting all the complaints? I said, the enemy doesn't want us here. He doesn't want us building a relationship with the homeless people. He doesn't want Kokomo, that has a, very fairly serious drug problem going on in there now. He doesn't want us there. And he's like, oh, okay. And I just kind of blew it off or whatever. Well, then that would have happened end of June. And then always Labor Day weekend, we would pick our date for the following year and then start the planning process. And that year, Jay was there at midnight to put that date in like he always did. And we didn't hear back, and we didn't hear back, and we didn't hear back. Come February, we couldn't plan anything for the festival because you can't plan for a date you don't have yet. And they said, well, we're not going to do multi-day festivals in the park anymore. And I said, wow. I said, God didn't build this festival up to 2 days for us to backtrack it, but you don't want us there, you know? So that's when we met the vets in February of that year. And that's when we told them our whole story and how Jay and I were abandoned by our father, who was a Vietnam veteran, and that the festival is very outcast driven. And they just connected immediately. And I think it was probably 10 minutes. They had to stand out in the hallway, and then they came back and said, absolutely, you can have the festival here. And we've been there ever since.
For people that don't know about the facility, tell people what that is.
The Howard County Vietnam Veterans Organization grounds. It's called the Healing Field. They have a lot of veterans who stay there practically year-round. They have campers and stuff that they stay there, and it's their home. The grounds are their home. And it used to be an airfield, a small local, airfield, and it was purchased by the Howard County Vietnam Vets, and they turned it into a giant campground and built their own stage. And they have an annual Vietnam Veterans reunion. It's one of the biggest in the nation. It's in September, I believe.
Yeah.
And they don't let the grounds be used just by anybody. So it was amazing that we was able to, take our predicament to them and for them to say, hey, come present it to the board. This is something that interests us. And they love us.
They do. The first year, though, they weren't real sure about it because they were all like hovering in their golf carts.
I can see that now.
Now they do that too, but it's because they want to be part of the fun, Yeah. It's not because they're washing things. And that first year after we had, we're all done, the chaplain out there, he had tears in his eyes and he said, I love that you guys are here because you treat this place the way we do. Those grounds are all but sacred to them. I mean, and we follow every rule they have. We stay on the attendees and make sure that they pay every bit of respect that these, men and women deserve in our mind. And it's just kind of a cool God Bless America theme going on out there with that big flag in the background. And it's just cool.
How do you plan a festival? Do you start planning for the next year as soon as the festival's over?
Well, me and Jay were really good at it because we planned our first festival in about 2 weeks. Of course, that was with nobody showing up and only using relatively local bands. But once we started really, really doing it, then I'll let Angie explain that.
I mean, festivals like this really should be a year-round thing. They really should be. But we have the Kingdom Come Festival, which is obviously our cornerstone event. And then in September, we have a smaller festival that's run very much like KCF, but it's only rock and out of the mainstream bands. I can't say you won't ever. There's always exceptions. But you're not going to find any pop, rap, punk, CCM, nothing like that's going to be at Pit Fest. It's all hard stuff. There just aren't enough outlets for things like that and for rock and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so Pit Fest is also free, but it's a smaller scale. And the vets last year let us have it out there too. So we have Pit Fest. So as soon as KCF is over, I have to take a mental break. And then sometime later in the summer and dabbling through the summer, we'll start focusing on Pit Fest. We have another crew that works on Pit Fest. So they're kind of starting to put the band lineup together for that. And then we'll announce it at KCF. So then we move from KCF to Pit Fest, and the second Pit Fest is over, then we have a Christmas outreach that we do. That's really fun. This is a brainchild of Jay and the guys in the protest. So Jay went to go watch them play one night, and their show got canceled for whatever reason, I don't know. So they all went to Burger King, and they're sitting there talking, and were all like, I want to do something more than just shows. And so they came up with the idea of the Christmas outreach. So we find the local families in Kokomo that are not getting help from anywhere else. And then I gather information about them and what they like, don't like. I mean, I want details. And then we go shop for these families. And then the protest and whoever else is with us. Last year it was Matt Moore and Point Five, I think. And so they go with us to deliver the gifts to the families. And then we invite the families, the staff, the bands to have a big family Christmas dinner in the afternoon. And then a free show open to the public that night. which turns into the most hilarious family Christmas party full of games and embarrass the bands as much as we can event ever. It's so much fun.
That sounds like a really cool event.
We have a lot of fun with that. But the protest guys, they go through it every year. And then there's another thing we do that's really special at Christmas time. I don't know if you've had the chance to meet Brenda Pavey or Cassie Pavey, but Brenda's daughter, Andrea, was killed in a car accident in October one year. And Andrea was just, she's so joyful and so much fun. And everybody knew she was there. And she's just goofy and silly. And anyway, so we started having the Andrea Pavey Joy Award that we give out every year at Christmas. And Josh goes up with me because she was their biggest fan. And so Josh and I always start crying. And we give the award to just somebody who's meant a lot to the ministry and puts the bands first, because that's what Andy did.
Yeah.
She made every band feel like they were her favorite band. That's a really cool thing we do. So then we don't really start on KCF again until January. We might get the headliner set, late in the fall, but
just a few weeks after the Christmas show, then we're back at KCF.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing about the festival?
So my favorite thing is just the love. And maybe it's just me because I've, been thinking about it and it's been in my head and my heart for so long. But as soon as I walk onto those grounds, man, I just feel love. I feel love. I feel love for everybody and everything. And I won't say that things don't get to me because there's, things that do. And I'm feeling it right now, just thinking about it and talking about it. It doesn't matter what kind of person walks onto that field. I just want to hug them. Let's just hug. Everybody hug. That feeling of Jesus, it's got to be Holy Spirit just spreading out all over the place, on the healing fields. To me, that's my favorite part of it.
Yeah, it's like a family reunion, I've noticed.
It really is. And it's not just for us and the attendees, it's for the bands. We've always had this philosophy of, not always. It took us a few events when you have one band who's excited because you're letting them leave with a bag of chips because that's going to be their dinner. And, it was really eye-opening for us. And I know you've seen this 1,000 times, what they go through. And then it really hit us one time that they are the disciples. They've left their home, their family, their comfort, their food in most cases to go into literally God knows what.
Mm-hmm.
They have no idea what they're walking into. And so when they're with us, we are going to be sure that all of their practical needs are met, that they feel loved, because if your practical needs aren't met, it's going to be a lot harder to do their job spiritually from the stage. And I hope that it's obvious we're a very ministry-oriented festival.
You are taking good care of those musicianaries.
Yes, I saw you put that word somewhere, and I just loved it. I thought that was the coolest way to put that. Absolutely.
Right.
What's your favorite thing, Chris?
I would have to agree with both of you. The first thing that popped in my mind was community. We kind of patterned KCF after Cornerstone. And one of the things that we loved about Cornerstone, especially through the years, was the fact that nobody seemed to be a stranger and people just loved each other. And KCF is its own thing. It's not Cornerstone, but we kind of had the seeds of that idea of just letting love, rule the day. People there thrive on it. And everybody says just what you said, Cindy, that it's like a family reunion. People get back together. They see the people they missed from last year. And then once somebody new's there, once they've been there a few hours, they feel at home again.
Yeah. It's like it was last week that we were together. Every year we get together. It feels like it was just a week ago, pick right back up where we left off.
What would you say is the hardest part of the festival?
Well, sometimes for me, it's the goodbye. I don't want it to end. You work so hard on something for so long and then it's just over and you're like, I don't want it to be over. If you're doing and flowing in what God has made you to do, it doesn't usually feel hard. If you're talking about physically exhausting, well, yeah, it's not as bad as it used to be. We have a pretty good crew of people now that come out and help, and we've delegated better and we've taken care of that kind of stuff. If there was anything that would be considered hard, I guess it might be raising the money. Yeah. That's probably the only thing I could think that would, be hard.
Another thing that's really difficult is picking the bands.
Yeah,
so many.
My answer has changed. It's so hard.
So many bands
who
submit, and then we have to, sort through those, to find the bands. And so we come up with the idea of having a band selection committee. And so they did a lot of the selecting for us on a good portion of the bands. Yeah. But so you get bands left out that you really wish you could find a place for.
I tell the committee when we send them the stuff, please pray, because there might be a band that maybe isn't quite as good performance-wise that God is leading you to pick for this year because of something that we'll never know.
Right.
It's so hard. There's so many bands that want to play. And then to also understand that this is a rock festival. I've never done the research on it, but we were told 2 years ago that they put it in the title of their article, the largest Christian rock festival in North America. And I called the guy and I said, man, I really appreciate that, but there's no way that we're the largest anything. And he said, no, that focuses on rock. Yes, you are. And I was like, wow, I hadn't even thought about that. But like I said earlier, there's not enough outlets for rock.
Right.
Yeah, there's not enough outlets for rock. So we will keep KCF, in my opinion. Sorry, I'm not trying to talk for Chris and Jay, but we will always keep KCF rock first because of that. But at the same time, we want to have something that connects to anybody who arrives on the fields. So that's why early in the day we'll have the pop punk, the rap, the hip hop, some CCM and stuff. But primarily, starting the afternoon and up, for the most part, rock. So then you get all these bands. We only have one spot per day for hip hop or one spot per day for rap. And then you have 25, 30, 40, 50 bands that are rap or pop or whatever trying to get in, and we can't.
So you guys are opposite of the regular festivals that have one rock band earlier in the day.
Right.
The rest is CCM.
Right.
And that's what we want. That's why KCF stands out to so many people, is because we kind of contradict what the norm is for the other festivals,
Which has also made this kind of an uphill climb because it's hard to find support for a Christian rock festival. If we were a Christian CCM festival, we'd have people knocking down our doors to donate and sponsor and things like that. But as a Christian rock festival, people, are hesitant and they don't see what happens. So when there's that connection made on the grounds where the bands are not only ministering from the stage, which is important and which is powerful, because their testimony and the words they say actually reaches through the hard shell that people have around their hearts. But you also have the contact that's on the grounds, person to person, and if people could only grasp that. But, unless I grab them, by the nape of the neck and hold them out there, it's really hard to convince them of that.
I know. We get that all the time because people come and they'll say, I heard about it, but didn't really think I'd like it. And they're like, if I had known it was going to be like this, I would have never missed one. I would have been there the first time. And until you're there, you just don't get it.
Now you've got 2 stages and you've got like over 50 bands this year, I think.
If you count in the kickoff on Thursday, yeah.
So you added the kickoff.
Last year was the first year. We experimented. That's our thing. We like to experiment with something different every year. The kickoff was actually sprung from me feeling bad about telling everybody no. We don't have enough spots, and I said, what if we just add like Thursday evening, just a few bands on there, so that there's we can get more in there and call it the kickoff, KCF kickoff. And of course Jay and Chris, they're pretty cool. Like, unless I come up with something like completely outer limits, they're all like, all right, go for it. What do you need me to do? And of course we all three do that. If Chris has an idea, then we're all like, okay, let's do it. So we work really well together, 3 of us. But that's kind of how that started. And I just approached some bands that had never been to KCF before last year and said, hey, this is a good way, although it's not on the main stage, it's on the redemption stage, because the main stage is being set up. Now we could expand it. However, that takes us back to finances, because in order to have the main stage set up for Thursday night, that's a whole lot more money. And we're not there yet. We wanted to see if the kickoff would even work. And so while the main stage sound is setting up, then we take over the redemption stage and have our kickoff.
Right.
So this year it's going to be June 15th, 16th, and 17th, correct?
That's right.
And that's at the Howard County Vietnam Veterans Organization Reunion Grounds.
Yeah.
3 nights, 50 bands. Tell everybody how much this costs to attend.
Nothing. 0. Zip. Free. And I tell you, that was one of the big things that the Lord laid on our heart. And I think Jay was probably the most vocal about it at the beginning, was to keep this a free festival. We wanted this to be something that people who are shelling out for things all year long, this could be their escape. They want to get away. They want to be blessed. They want to be in a festival environment. They want Christian rock. Come on, there's nothing to stop you. Free camping, free admission, free hugs.
Free parking, yeah, free hugs. Free hugs, I like it. So the thing that I like the most about the fact that it's free is it's not likely that you're going to have a non-believer go to a rock festival if they have to pay, but they'll come check it out if they have nothing else to do, and it's free because it's rock, And I can think of stories immediately right now that I've heard of people who only went because they were hanging out with their buddy who wanted to go see Decipher Down or Disciple, and they went with them just for that reason and got saved while they were there. And that, for me, that's the reason I will fight to keep it free, always, forever.
I don't think there's another one out there that's free, especially with 50 bands.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Another reason why we need money. It's free.
Yeah. Tell us about the camping.
We've got people that sleep in their cars. We've got vans or whatever, which is what I did when I went to Cornerstone. And it's really first come. So far, we haven't even come close to getting all that filled up. That's a pretty big area we have out there. And if you have a big camper, we need you to keep it closer to the gravel, because Jake Drown, our sound guy, will tell you that you can get your camper stuck if it rains, if you put it in the grass. Have that happen. No charge. We just ask that you be mindful of the people around you. The vets even sell wood, and we'll bring you a campfire ring if you want it. You can make your own food there. We've got concessions and stuff there that everybody can have if they want it, but we don't make them eat our food. We just don't want them to leave. So stay with us and have fun and don't leave.
That's right. You can bring your own cooler, but they do have really good concessions. I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah.
You can bring a generator too if you'd like.
Oh, yeah. You could bring a generator.
Nice. Mm-hmm. So there's no excuse really except for miles for somebody not to come to this event. And I will say my husband and I drive 10 hours to the event. We usually give ourselves an extra day to split it in half because we're old. And plan for it now because I want to see you there. Okay. Tell people where they can donate if they are like realizing for the first time that this is a ministry that they could be part of.
The easiest way to donate, truthfully, is to go to the website. It's just kingdomcomefestival.com. And there will be a tab across the top that says donate now, or maybe it's in the middle of the page. I don't know. But it says donate now. And then you click that, and then it will show you options for Venmo, Cash App, PayPal. If you want to mail a check, it has our P.O. box. And so that's probably the easiest. Plus, most of your questions can be answered with the information we have on the website anyway.
And I'll have that on the blog page for your interview so that people can just click there and go straight to it. Yeah. But basically what you're doing is you're donating so that you guys can get the bands there.
I would say the bulk of the money goes to the bands, either via their guarantee or a hotel for a few of them, or their hospitality, because we try to make sure, hopefully you felt that when you were in there last year, that we try to make sure they're fed really well.
Yeah.
And have lots of food options and stuff.
Nobody on the KCS staff makes a dime. Not a cent of donations go to us.
Yeah. They are all volunteers.
Oh, yeah. Everyone.
So if you wanted to ever do what I like to do, which is feed the bands and support the bands, that'd be a great place to do a donation. Is it tax deductible?
We are 501c3, so we can do tax receipts, yes.
Awesome. Okay, I'm a sucker for good concert and festival stories. Have you got anything you can share?
There's so many stories, and every year, like, there's one that stands out to me. I know one of them was about our volunteer went to get her phone fixed. Something was going on with her phone, and it was, I don't know if it was AT&T or Verizon or wherever she went. And the person behind the counter recognized her from KCF. He ended up telling her the story of how he only went there because his buddy wanted to go to see Decipher Down, and he got saved while he was there. So that was a cool story. But one of my favorite stories, and I'll probably think of like 800 of them as soon as we're done here today, but one of my favorite stories was with I Am Spartacus. Do you remember that, Chris? The gentleman that came and had cancer?
Oh.
So, and a lot of this stuff we find out through the merch people, because the people go in and check out their tables and they start conversations with the girls and the guys that are working in there. And it really didn't occur to me till a couple of years ago how much ministry happens in the merch building. Like not just with the bands, but the people that are working there, because people share testimonies in there and they can pray for each other in there. And it's a total different subject, but that just stood out to me just now. But my sister, who's our lead with the merch team, she said that there was a gentleman who was there who had terminal cancer, and he had driven from Ohio with his brother and his son to see I Am Spartacus play. Well, the traffic was bad and they missed I Am Spartacus set. Yeah. So I went and told Ben and Brady about the situation, and they, I think I'm going to start crying. No, I'm not. They took that gentleman out to the memorial in the back. Can you picture, Cindy, where the flag's hanging down and they took him out there and they did an acoustic show just for him.
Oh my.
Back there. And he sang his heart out with them on every song. And their songs are so silly and funny anyway, you know. And I so wanted to get a picture of it, but I thought, no, that's not my moment. But that moment will forever stand out to me. And that's how all these bands are. Yeah. And so the best of our ability anyway, we kind of ask around sometimes, and we can't know every band, obviously. But if it's bands that we keep having back, there's a reason. Mm-hmm. You know, it's because we have seen that side of them. I mean, you're not going to find anybody that ministers better, equally maybe, for sure, because I can't know every band that's out there, but you're not going to find anybody that ministers better than Disciple or The Protest or Chaotic Resemblance. Right. You know, and of course, vast others that we have there. It's so important to us that come first. It's ministry and then music. You're functioning in the gifting God gave you, you know, and then I kind of alluded to the Holy Spirit tsunami, and I didn't get back to it. Cindy, you would have just loved that. It was, the way it started was, we're still in Kokomo. I went into my camper, which is always our KCF office, you know, went into my camper to get something, and I came back out, and Trevor Hyde was on the stage, and everybody in the park was on their knees before God. And it was such a surreal moment I'll never forget. And then he was finished with whatever he's doing, and a little bit later, The Protest started doing their set. And a homeless girl came up onto the stage in the middle of their set. And I found out later that Josh told me that she said something like, "I'm scared to die." And he stopped the set, just stopped everything. And he got down on his knees and prayed with her on that stage right there in front of everybody. He didn't care. All the other guys in The Protest came over and laid their hands on her. Other members of other bands that were behind them came over and laid their hands on her. And she was saved right there on that stage in front of everybody. And then Nine Lashes was there that year. And Tank came up and did an impromptu little preaching thing and altar call. And the whole step was filled with people being prayed for, rededicating their lives, being saved. And that's what we refer to as the Holy Spirit tsunami came over and just took over the festival, just took it over. And we say that all the time. We'll do all the groundwork. We'll set the stage. But when the day comes, we just pray and then, okay, cheers, God, take it over. Do what you want with it. It's your festival. It's not ours. And he did it that day. And it was incredible. And I think the headliner and the direct support got to play for maybe 20 minutes each because the sound ordinance was going to take effect and they couldn't do their whole sets, but they didn't even care because of what had just happened. And it was amazing. And it was after that year that we got booted. That's it. And it was almost a feeling like, you know, God wanted it there to help them, but they didn't want us. So shake the dirt off and move along. And
God moved you to another sacred place.
Yes, he did. And it's just, but we couldn't have camping at the park. So this is just everything we wanted it to be, really.
Mm-hmm. So, you know,
he had a plan.
Somebody meant it for evil, but somebody else meant it for good. Is that what we're trying to say?
That's exactly right.
It couldn't grow after a certain point, so you got moved.
That's right.
Right.
And you probably wouldn't have moved unless they had pushed you out like they did?
Probably not. But I didn't even know that existed. I didn't even know a place that we could do that even existed that would be in our price range.
But God did.
Yeah. So I try not to question too much.
Chris, why should people come to KCF?
I would come because it's an experience. The basic reason to come to KCF and to come to Christ is actually because he has the best. He is the best. And it's not that this is the only place you're going to be able to experience Jesus. If you want to experience love, if you want to experience people walking in the love of God, in the presence of God, come experience the festival for yourself and be blessed. Be a part of it and be a part of these stories. And there you'll experience people being the hands and feet of Jesus. If you hear these stories and they mean something to you, you know, come to KCF. You'll walk out that weekend with stories of your own.
Amen. Thank you both for your time.
Thank you, Cindy, so much.
Y'all have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for more great music and check out my blog page on the Solid Rock Radio website for my guests' social media links. If you've missed any of my past interviews, you can find them uploaded to podcast.solidrockradio.org. Have a wonderful week and let's be kind to one another.